Welcome to Box Out Band. I'm Chris Okamura. Joining me as always, Mr. Jordan Christmas. Jordan, we are 3 to 4 games into the conference finals, and I think for the most part we are pretty correct in our original assessment.
Yeah, we might be 2 to 3 games total away from playing in the, or for 2 to 3 games away from being in the NBA Finals. Also, which it was kind of the finals it would be the finals we all expected. Is these injuries, man? I don't know if you just saw it, or you probably did see it a few hours ago, but Trae Young now has a bone bruise in his foot after stepping on a ref, and I've been annoyed with the refs all playoffs, and now they're, taking out NBA stars. And I have to say, now that, I've talked about my ebbs and flows as a Trae Young fan, but now that the Hawks are not playing the Sixers anymore, I'm having fun watching the Hawks again, because I enjoyed watching them in the first round, and honestly, I've been impressed with Trae Young, even though I thought the Sixers defended him well in the second round. I thought we defended him the best. He was still controlling the game and the pace and all that stuff, and he was doing it again. And I thought he was on pace to do it again last night. I thought we were going to get a classic, tied 1-1 game 3, Buck the favorites on the road trying to steal one back. And, and then it ended up being the Chris Middleton show in the fourth quarter. And Trae Young there was some times where I was like, okay, he didn't look right. And then there were times where he would bolt down the court, kick it out to an open shooter in the corner, and somebody would brick it. But
I'm still not 100% sold on Trae. I think I'm giving him a lot more credit than I ever have before. I think he's been playing fantastic. I think there is the Nate McMillan stuff. He has really turned it around this season from where he started this season, and just kind of his mindset. But there are still times and periods in a game where it still does bleed through.
Nate McMillan or Trae Young?
No, the Trae Young, obviously having Nate McMillan has changed his mindset and changed the way he's played this season. Because obviously earlier in the season there was a lot of one-on-one ISO stuff, and there was a lot of that teammate standing in the corner kind of stuff. And it was a lot of in my mind, the way I viewed it was Trae trying to prove himself kind of stuff. And he really got away from that, and he's been playing great and playing a lot of team ball and really kind of moving the ball and moving off, doing kind of the running off screen stuff that we see from Steph really, really well. And that, to me, that's the best version of Trae Young, is just him playing within an offense. I don't know if I like him as a heliocentric option, but I think to me, there's times where he does kind of force a little. And again, he's good enough where he's making a lot of these. I just don't think they're high quality shots. But again, this is just me nitpicking. I think he's been playing fantastic.
Yeah, I think all my questions about Trae Young are done after this playoff run, considering,
I still need to see it more, but I think he's playing fantastic. I think he's again playing great. I think we need to cool it on is he the best player out of that 2018 draft? I think we need to cool it there.
I do think that trade looks a lot better, though.
It does, but we need to cool it a little bit.
No, Luka's still the best player, but the Hawks have I don't think it's any question anymore that the Hawks have their franchise point guard.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Again, that wasn't a question to me. My thing is just we need to stop with the knee-jerk reactions of is Trae Young now better than Luka Doncic? It's no.
Oh yeah, well that's just Twitter and all that stuff. I have kind of grown tired. Well, I always grow tired of Twitter discourse. But with all junk food, 90% of it's shit, and then I go back to it because the 10% of Twitter is good. But yeah, I don't think. I remember Bill Simmons dubbed it it was going to go down as one of the worst trades in NBA history. I certainly was a Luka and DeAndre Ayton guy. I didn't even. First of all, I was wrong about Trae Young right off the bat, because I thought coming out of college, I didn't think he'd be a bust. I thought his ceiling would be, good offensive player off the bench on the right team. But
you saw him as Malik Monk?
not Malik Monk, but like a supercharged like offensive guard, because I thought his offensive skills were there. I just thought the defense was going to be an issue. I didn't think he was a good like a great shooter. Like, yeah, he could pull up. He's still not a elite shooter. Like, he has range, right? Like, he's like you said, he's a volume guy still. And I think that's the next step in his game is consistency from three. Because remember, like, especially when you look at, early Damian Lillard and with the, shots he was taking, like, it took Dame a bit before, like, he was always like a 37% 3-point shooter, right? But like, look, the last 2 years he was 39 and he was 40. But there are also a couple years where he shot 36%, and that's because naturally, if you're not Steph Curry, and look, I'm never going to throw out the Steph Curry comparisons, but if you're not like Steph Curry efficient as a deep shooter, I think you have to do other things. And I think Trae's proved he's an elite passer. He has an elite floater game, an elite in-between game. And I think where, for me, Trae Young's value, or not value, I guess, because he's already proven it. I think for me, with Trae Young is he's performing when it matters most. And I know that sounds like a 90s Skip Bayless undisputed talking point, but I think a lot of it's true. Like, in the playoffs, the games are harder. The games matter more. It's more of a pressure cooker. And you need whatever tools you can in your bag to score. And I think Trae Young has that elite in-between game, and he can draw fouls. He might not be a great shooter, but I think he's proved a lot. I also think DeAndre Ayton has proved a lot. So I think what we've come out to is that, yeah, Luka's going to be the best player out of this draft, and I know the knee-jerk reaction, Wolves are going to come after this podcast if they catch whiff of what we say, but it's actually turned out to be one of the best drafts in recent memory, pretty quickly too.
And Marvin Bagley has turned into the Sam Bowie of this draft very quickly.
Ooh, ouch. I still think Marvin Bagley would do well somewhere else that's not Sacramento, just for the record. Just having watched a lot of Kings games, yeah, some of it's on him, but I also think he's been injured. But there have been stretches more so this season where you could see the potential 18-10, like, versatile scoring big, because I think he has some stuff to his game, but I think he needs to get out of Sacramento first.
You're probably right. I see a lot of confidence issues.
I think health's the main thing.
He does look timid to shoot a lot at times, but that's neither here or there.
Yeah, like when De'Aaron Fox and Halliburton are kind of your future already, and you already have Harrison Barnes and Buddy Hield taking away shots. Rashawn Holmes is actually a better player than Marvin Bagley too, like just in terms of fit and role and helping the team win. Bagley might need a fresh start before I fully am ready to hop off the bag train.
The bag train.
But I have to ask you something. Has DeAndre Ayton been the Suns' best player all playoffs?
Yes. No. He is not their best player.
I'm talking about just this playoff run.
He has been the most consistent. I will say that.
I think he's been the best player on the Suns in this playoff run. I just think, or you can argue importance, or maybe some other category, but
yeah, I don't think best is the right. I think consistent, and like he's been there, like he's been their most consistent, like ground, like base option. Like he is the foundation upon which everything else works. I don't think he has been the best player, because I think that flip flops between Booker and Chris Paul at times. Like I think they've been flip flopping that role.
Yeah,
I think DeAndre Ayton is just the most consistent force on that team right now, and he's been sort of the glue and the foundation that everything kind of builds upon. Because the thing is, like with Ayton, his threat is a lob threat, and his threat as a rim runner and roller has been opening up the mid range for everyone else, and then that mid range opens up the three. and you're seeing like this inside out game, like this '90s inside out game that you normally don't see in the NBA today, and it's so refreshing to watch. But it works because he's so big, he's so athletic, he has good feel, he has solid hands. Like he's been great. He's been everything that I hoped he was coming out of college.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. A Suns fan I follow. His name is Sreaker. His at is Sreaky Shooter. And this was so true, like especially to start the season. But every other game, like DeAndre Ayton would have butter hands. Like he would just drop the ball, especially as he was trying to get chemistry with playing with a new backcourt that dominates the ball as much as CP and Devin Booker. But in these playoffs, like he's turned into Tony Gonzalez, to quote Sreaker. Like he has caught everything. And the reason I bring up the question is because I really think without him, like the Suns don't get as far as they are right now, because he's like you said, he's a lob threat. He is essential to their screen and roll game and allows Chris Paul and Devin Booker to get into the mid range. And when you play a smaller team like the Clippers, whenever they decide to go small, and as we saw in Game 4 on Saturday, I had the game on the side while me, you, and a couple of our buddies had the Fighter C tournament going on. Ayton had 22 rebounds, and I think he had 9 offensive rebounds, and he was controlling the game, and not in the traditional way of like Joel Embiid or Nikola Jokic will have the ball and they'll just command so much attention. Like he was just a force on both ends of the floor. And I think his commitment to, being a rim running, catch a mismatch in the post guy, lob threat, and then on the defensive end, switch everything, protect the rim. The Suns really don't have like a good big behind him. Like Saric is their best option at the 5. I just think
let me say, and I know you like Sarge because you're a Sixers fan.
No, Sarge has sucked for like the last 3 months of the season. Like I actually
do like him when they run him next to Ayton.
Yeah, but they haven't really done that much though, because I think they use him more exclusively as a backup 5 now. Because I just think because it's obvious they're going with heavy minutes with their starters.
In the lineups when they run him with Ayton, I actually really like it.
Yeah,
it's like that gives them that smart, big
Sarge is a smart player and a good passer for sure.
He can an interior pass. He can open lanes up for Ayton. Like he's good at finding the shooters, and so when people clamp down on Ayton, he's able to kick it out to the. I just like him next to Ayton because I think he covers a lot of Ayton's flaws and holes really, really well.
I think Game 3, Sarge was good in his minutes. I think the Clippers game that they lost at home when they went to LA, Game 3, I thought Sarge was good in his minutes too, but he's been turkey dog shit for like the last I don't know, I just made it up. It just sounded good in my head. He's been bad for like the last 2 months, and like his flaws are really that like he's not particularly big, like he's tough and he's slow, and if he doesn't have his 3-point shot going, like it closes everything up that makes him good on offense, like his passing and stuff. But I don't know. The Suns I've been really impressed with the Suns, and I know I have been seeing some, salt and tears from Lakers Twitter, and I get it. Like I have said, if we redid this again, if there was like a simulation, the Lakers probably win. If there was 100 simulations, the Lakers win that first round series probably 85 times out of 100 if it's fully healthy. But like that's not the reality. Like the Suns have been the most complete team all playoffs. They've been healthy, and this playoffs it's been a war of attrition like no other. I think there's been an abnormal amount of injuries that you could try to contextualize when you look back 10 years from now how this playoffs will play out. But it's like in football, like part of the deal is you have to be healthy, and it sucks. Like I wish Joel Embiid didn't have a small tear in his meniscus. Like I wish I'm sure the Nets, obviously, I mean, we both agree even if the Nets had Kyrie Irving, I don't think the Bucks were going to win that series at all, or even a fully healthy Nets squad. But you play the team that's in front of you, and these playoff games are still hard, by the way. And that's that. Like, yeah, maybe quote unquote the favorite didn't win or whatever, but I could also say, like, okay, if Chris Paul didn't, hurt his shoulder and shot the ball like a bowling ball the whole first round, the Suns might have had a better like, we could play this injury game. So basically what I'm saying is the right teams are supposed to be there, and yeah, it sucks injuries played a huge role in these playoffs, but the Suns have been really damn impressive. Like, this is some really high quality basketball I'm watching from the Phoenix Suns. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I called this shit at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I feel like we were a Suns-centric podcast for a while, because I didn't take him to go to the Western Conference Finals like you did because I'm a coward, but I liked...
Dude, I was so ready.
I loved the team. I'm a big Booker guy. I was a big Ayton guy up until he got suspended last year, and he was still good, but I was just recalibrating what I thought his ceiling would be. I have a best friend who's a Suns fan who also listens to this podcast, and I talk to him, about the Suns a lot. And it's funny. We actually joked back in 2016. We would joke like, what if, I can't wait for that Suns Sixers finals in 2022. And the fact that it was almost a possibility is actually kind of funny. But I've been impressed with the Suns, and, putting Chris Paul on this team was the cherry on top. And I think Ayton has been, without Ayton, I don't think the Suns are nearly as far as they are right now.
Yeah. I'm in full agreement. I'm picking the Suns to win this thing, so.
Oh, you're to win it all? Yeah, me too. Yeah. They're the I mean, I said, I was telling my friend actually yesterday that if the Hawks were to somehow pull this series off, I'd go Suns in 5, because, he brought up the whole, I can't believe Trae Young is, getting away with this much on not being attacked on defense. And I was like, yeah, me too. But at the same time, like, you don't, as a team, I feel like you don't want to lose your offensive identity and your flow just attacking one person every time. But I think weirdly enough, the Suns are the best equipped to do that type of thing. I mean, you saw what they did to the Nuggets with Michael Porter Jr. Like, Chris Paul is like one of the smartest players ever. He's gonna hunt people down. But I feel like the Suns strike that balance of hunting people down but keeping the flow of their offense. And I would have said Suns in 5, but if it was the Bucks, I would say Suns in 6. Because I think the Bucks have figured out some stuff too. I just think the Suns have been playing the best basketball.
Yeah, I think the Suns are by far the best team.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be shocked if they lost this game tonight. I mean, Paul George is gassed from having to carry more of a load.
I want to talk about too. Paul George has played fantastic throughout the playoffs.
He's
obviously there's some moments here and there that playoff P rears his ugly head. But
the last 2 games you could tell.
Yeah,
he's gassed.
I do want to say, Paul George still rubs me the wrong way just because of the lack of accountability that he seems to always have. And I know we brought it up, like, one of our first episodes of this podcast. Like, I remember we brought it up of, like, the man just never takes responsibility for anything. Yeah, and I really don't. As a leader, as your team's leader, I don't know how I feel about that. And I know the players don't like it.
Oh, I know how you feel about it. You let it seep into your player evaluation of Paul George. I felt a little bit.
I might have, yeah, but I mean, like, he's playing really well, and it's just a thing of, like, dude, when you make a mistake, like, call it out. Like, yeah, I fucked up. Like, Ayton talks every player, every top player, and I've never heard a player really kind of deflect in the way that he does as often as he does. And it's
he's had some bad comments. I will even as a Paul George stan, I will admit he has had some dumb comments, like the whole I don't care what anybody says, that's a bad shot and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, but that's Damian Lillard. Like, yeah, that's not a bad shot for him. Like it might be a bad shot for everybody else, but that's a bad shot. And then, the whole well, actually, it turns out he might. I think the Doc Rivers comments, before the season started, I thought they were a little. I looked at him funny for them, but like I kind of get where he was coming from. And now that the season's over, or not, the Sixers season is over, and the Ty Lue's been, pushing all the right buttons and all that stuff and getting the most out of the Clippers regular season, I kind of get where he was coming from with the Doc Rivers stuff.
I do, but not. I could get like, Doc Rivers and him didn't mesh, or like he didn't believe in Doc Rivers' system, whatever.
But the things like, he was complaining about with Doc Rivers was wrong. Like he was using screen and roll so often last year, and he was complaining about that. Like he was like, Doc had me coming off pin downs and stuff, and Kevin O'Connor was like, no, dude, look at the synergy stats.
Yeah, like you're not coming off pin downs.
Like you're running pick and roll more than ever in your career and stuff. So yeah, he does have some deflection issues, but I think he just says, it's not good, and I'm not making an excuse for it, but I think he says that because I do think he has self-accountability, and I think that's what matters to me, because like he has also backed up his comments with, I need to get better, I'm working over the summer, and I think last playoffs were kind of unfair to him because he was coming off, well, the last two playoffs, because you can't, I don't care if you're on the court, I don't care about the motto if you're healthy, or if you're on the court you're healthy. You cannot play with shoulders that are broken and then recovering from double shoulder surgery. That's hard.
Sure.
But
I get it.
But
again, like it to me, it's just the comments of like, there was I can't think of them off the top of my head, but he had some comments after these last two losses too, where it's just like, dude, just come on, just be like, that's on me, or this is on me, or whatever it is, or we gotta play better, or whatever. Like they came back in the Nuggets series, but the whole Clippers mantra of like, we're still in the driver's seat after going down 0-2, the lack of urgency was like concerning to me.
Oh, you mean the Mavericks series?
Yeah, stuff like that, where it's like, to me that rubs me the wrong way. Like it's just a lack of urgency, and it feels like you just don't take responsibility for like what's happening on the floor.
I guess it just comes down to how me and you feel about these comments, because I think some of them aren't a big deal. I just think Paul George is caught in the meme portal now, where if you're caught in the meme portal, no matter what you say.
No, I think a lot of things that he gets are unfair. Like the free throws, while hilarious, he did hit one of the most clutch mid-range shots of the game.
Well, back to back, because him and Booker were exchanging baskets.
Right before,
in game 2, you mean, right?
Yeah, you gotta hit the free throws, but he was hitting some clutch mid-range jumpers.
Yeah, Paul George hit the mid-range jumper to go up one. Then I think it was Devin Booker who made a layup for the Suns to go up one, and then Paul George hit another mid-range jumper from the left elbow before the faded free throws. Yeah, the faded free throws.
For me, it's just a thing of like, I need to see a little more responsibility and leadership from him. And like the thing is, with all the comments that came out of the Clippers locker room last year, which I 100% believe, now knowing now what we know about all the players and like what they've said afterwards and like how that whole locker room situation went down, like
also knowing what players think about Doc too.
Yeah. So like I know a lot of what came out of I know some people were like, oh, it's probably false or it's a leak or whatever, but like probably a lot of the stuff that was coming out of the locker room is true. And
probably.
People shaking their head at Paul George, to me that shows a lot of distrust in the locker room. And I don't know if you can win a championship with a team that doesn't trust in their second best player.
Yeah, I think a lot of those. I think the suspects for those comment leaks are gone now, though, because definitely Montrezl Harrell said some shit. Lou Williams definitely said some shit. Who else on that team? I think the guys who who saw their playing time dwindle in the playoffs in the bubble were the usual suspects that said that. But I think this summer is going to be interesting for Kawhi now. I wish Kawhi was healthy for this series because I do think the Clippers were the Suns' worst matchup just because if you have two elite wings and then everybody else playing their roles, like Reggie Jackson's playing out of his mind. He's going to get a bag this summer. Luke Kennard has been revived from the grave of bad contracts.
Yeah, he came out of nowhere. Where did that come from?
Ty Lue, I remember it was game 3 in the first round against the Mavericks, and Ty Lue put in Luke Kennard in the second quarter, and I was like, oh shit. Like, he hasn't played for like a month and a half, and hasn't played at all in the series. Like, what is going on? And, Kennard didn't have a good shooting game. Like, he was actually kind of, not bad, but he was like below average in his minutes. And then the rest of the series, since from that game on, like, Luke Kennard has been lights out whenever he's had his number called. It's crazy. Like, he's coming off of pin down, shooting with confidence, letting it fly. Ty Lue's been great. And I think if you're Kawhi Leonard, I don't know what this knee injury is. The Athletic reported, I know Shams reported that it was an ACL injury, a possible ACL injury, though they didn't specify it was a tear or sprain. The Clippers themselves just aren't saying anything. So I don't even know what's going on with Kawhi. But if it is a knee issue, and if you're Kawhi, you're 28, 29 years old, like, I think it's more likely he stays in LA now, especially now that the Clippers have finally broken their conference finals curse. I just would have loved to see this team fully healthy, playing against the Suns team. It would have been a really fun series. I thought it would have been a toss-up between these two teams, because I think when Ty Lue has all those pieces at his disposal, he would have gotten mad scientist in the lab. Then you got the Suns, who are also well coached by Monty Williams. By the way, the previous 2 seasons, the Sixers had Monty Williams and Ime Udoka in the fucking building, and we let them walk away, and we ended up with Doc Rivers. So I'm still kind of salty about that. But that series would have been really fun, because look, Game 4 was straight up a rock fight. Like, it was some Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble throwing rocks at each other in their front yards type of game. And it was still good. All these games have been good in this series. And I just wonder what it would have been like if Kawhi was there, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. So,
I can't wait to re-tier my players, because Trae Young and Ayton are definitely taking this leap. And not to bring up my friend again, but he got drunk after the Suns victory on Saturday night. I'm pretty sure he was drunk. He texted me, and he was like, because he has a friend who's a Laker fan who's a hater, and I know who he's talking about. I've known him forever myself. And he was basically talking trash about the Suns and stuff. And so I got a text from him at like 1 a.m, and he was like, would you take Ayton over Gobert? And I was like, this version of Ayton, abso-fucking-lutely, I would. Like, if Ayton keeps playing like this, there's no question. Like, Rudy Gobert might be the better rim protector or whatever, but I will take Ayton on the perimeter defensively. Yeah, he might not be, an elite shot blocker like Embiid or Gobert, but he's good. Like, he's really good. And also, he punishes the little dudes on the offensive end. Like, Charles Barkley and Shaq are probably loving the fuck out of that series, watching Ayton. Like, every time the Suns have been on TNT, Shaq and Charles Barkley, or Shaq at least, when he does that little film session at halftime that really he doesn't really explain anything. He just says, look, you catch the ball, turn around, boom, dunk, dominate. Like, he really doesn't explain how the play works or whatever. Like, Shaq has Ayton in his film every time at halftime when the Suns play, because he's been awesome. So I can't wait to re-tier these players.
Yeah,
next year.
I'm very excited to see kind of how this all shakes out. So speaking of which, that does lead us into a little side topic, because I think these series are kind of going the way we're going to go, or the way we talked about last week.
I feel like we should talk about Hawks Bucks a little bit more. Well, I guess we kind of. You do you think Milwaukee? Do you think there's a chance that the Hawks win Game 4? No. Yeah, no. I don't think so either. I think the Trae. I don't think the Trae injury really puts a monkey wrench in things. Because I'm telling you, I was impressed by. I figured the Hawks might have a chance to win Game 1. Just as a feel-out series, and Mike Budenholzer likes to, apparently he just likes to, give up 12 to 15-point leads to start the game so he can make it harder on himself. But I was still impressed with how Trae showed out. The dude was throwing, and this is why I am more all in than I was on Trae Young. The confidence to not be scared in a conference finals. This motherfucker was throwing off the backboard passes to John Collins and then shimmying before the shot goes in an Eastern Conference Finals game. Your first conference finals game, by the way. Like that.
So I have a different question for you. So
okay.
We talked earlier about how the Trailblazers are constantly, after they hit the conference finals at one time, they're now constantly the low seed that everyone says is dangerous and should be watched out for, and like the dark horse, right? Mm-hmm. And everyone says that about the Blazers and Dame Lillard, and that look.
I think I know where this is going.
As long as they have Dame, he's taken them to a conference final before. Like they're still dangerous. Are the Hawks now the Eastern Conference Trailblazers, where you think, oh, they could make a run?
No.
And then every year they're going to come up short.
The reason I say no is because the Hawks actually know how to.
It's a fair question.
I don't think it's a fair question because this is the Hawks' first playoff run, and also,
well, remember at the time when the Trailblazers made it, it was only like Dame's like fourth year, something like that.
Yeah, but he also didn't get this deep. But also, I say no because I really do think.
No, that was the year they made it to the conference finals.
Wait, Dame's third year?
It was really early.
Dame's only made it to one conference finals, and that was against the Denver Nuggets.
What year was this?
That was 2018, 2019.
Yes.
Dame's third year, that was the year. No, Dame made the playoffs. He's made the playoffs every year of his career. I am pretty positive.
Okay, so it was later.
No, Dame's second year they made the playoffs, and that's when he had the series-ending shot and all that stuff. But the other reason why I say no is because it's not like the Blazers failed building an elite team around Lillard. I just thought they made some real bad fuck-ups with player personnel to surround Dame with. The Hawks, sure. I have loved all the Hawks moves in terms of drafting and building and stuff like that. The problem was...
you on the Cam Reddish hype train with me? Let's go.
I was a Cam Reddish fan. I wasn't like a bullish fan. Like, remember when everyone was saying Cam Reddish had that T-Mac scoring potential and stuff, especially going into Duke? Like, that was the thing.
I always thought his ceiling was like a really good third option, like a Richard Jefferson.
Yeah, and unfortunately the injury kind of messed things up too for him this year. But if you just look back at the Hawks, the last 2 years at least, the Hawks drafts, their free agent signings, like I liked all of their stuff to build around Trae, because it was apparent in Trae's first year, like he was going to be way more than what I thought he was going to be. So it was like, okay, how do you build around it? Well, you draft Cam Reddish, you draft DeAndre Hunter. I mean, you signed Bogdanovich, you signed, like, look at all the signings they made. It was all to maximize Trae while also hide his weaknesses. And dude, just imagine, think about this. The Hawks are doing this run right now without DeAndre Hunter, who evolved into a 3-level scorer this year before he got hurt. He took a really big leap this year in his second year. And I really, even though he was not healthy in the Knicks series, I thought he had some 3-level scoring chops that would help the Hawks. Cam Reddish didn't play for a lot of the year because of that Achilles soreness. Chris Dunn didn't play. I'm still on Chris Dunn Island. Don't judge me. I still think I still like Chris Dunn. I still like Chris Dunn a lot, especially as a defender. And then they traded for Clint Capella, which was a move that I liked last year. Like I think Clint Capella is underrated, and he was a Defensive Player of the Year candidate possibly this year. I just think the Hawks have done a better job of building around their best players, and maybe they might hit on some guys where their ceiling might be higher than expected, like DeAndre Hunter, and then Cam Reddish could fall into that third option, fourth role, because Cam Reddish is a pretty good defender, even though his offense is still leaves a lot to be desired.
He's a long boy.
Yep, exactly. And they have a lot of long boys on that team. I just think the Hawks are better equipped to have better playoff runs than the Blazers, as opposed to, oh, look, we have this really small backcourt that could score a lot. Let's just hope we get on fire and take advantage of an inexperienced Nuggets team in Game 7 in the second round on the road and get to the conference finals type thing. So I would.
No, I think you're right. I have more faith in this Hawks team, but I do think there is something to be said for the amount of injuries going on and how the season has gone, where they're just the healthiest team remaining.
Oh yeah, I mean the Sixers blew that series.
Again, to me, there's a threat of like expectation here, where people go, "Oh, this team has now taken the leap."
Or yeah, where people think progression is linear, and they'll expect the Hawks to be in the finals next year, and then if they don't make it the next year after that, they're a bust. I know how this goes. This is how it goes with draft prospects too. Like if the good rookie doesn't, quite exactly meet the sometimes absurd expectations of a leap in a second year, then it's like, oh, what? Then we start having questions about the guy. Like a team's progression and or a draft prospect's progression in terms of development, they're not linear. Like this Hawks team is going to go through ebbs and flows, like as this team grows, but I think they are built for the long haul. By the way, I forgot to mention Onyeka Okongwu. When he has gotten minutes in these playoffs, he has been a stud. Like yesterday, he was a stud. There were a few games in the Sixers series, especially in games 4. Basically from games 4 and on, when he got minutes, he was so impactful on the defensive end and was a lob threat. Like I've been impressed in the limited minutes he's gotten too. Like the Hawks are building some stuff there. Like I have a lot more faith in that front office too, because they probably won't throw people under the bus like a certain Blazers GM. Throw people under the bus, run them over, back it up, and then do it again.
Well, I was going to bring up. We're skipping ahead a little bit, but I guess we can go here first. Chauncey and Jason, how do you feel about these two new coaches? How do you feel about us reliving 90s, early 2000 point guard in coaching roles?
One, I don't like both hires because I don't think I think hiring players like that who still have the old school mentality of stuff isn't good for the new NBA. I just don't think they'll be good at their jobs. Jason Kidd has been fucking awful at his job, and he still is getting coaching opportunities. And look, I get it. Players respect him and stuff like that.
I like him as an assistant because he's not doing X's and O's, and he's more of a personality, like a locker room guy.
Yeah, and also there's all the very fair and very all the very fair criticisms of, like Chauncey Billups settled a sexual assault allegation back in the late 90s, and Jason Kidd, has domestic violence issues with his wife in the past. Like these, not only are they, especially in Jason Kidd's case, not only are they abusers, but he gets another job that one he's terrible at. Like, I mean, it's already in a male dominated industry, and you're going to get second chances regardless of your past. And like, that's kind of been baked into society, unfortunately. But that's only if you're like, that's usually with people that are good at their jobs. Like Jason Kidd tanked Giannis's development, was awful with Milwaukee, was low-key really awful with the Brooklyn Nets, but because they had the corpse of Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce and Joe Johnson, like that weird Nets team that I somehow thought was an Eastern Conference Finals contender. Yes, I was one of those people that got fooled. He was bad. I don't know how Chauncey will be as a coach, but based on his analysis, I've seen him on TV, I've seen him talk about the game and stuff like that. It's like the Mark Jackson thing. Like you could just hear it in the way they talk about basketball that they just, I don't think they're going to be good coaches.
It's very old school. It's very much. I mean, I'm curious because obviously the Steve Nash thing has worked out. That's been fine. I think that people are now starting to go down this like point guard rabbit hole. Like you've heard that Penny Hardaway is in talks
Yeah.
Or interviewed for the Magic head coaching position. So I'm just curious who's the next '90s to early 2000s point guard that's up next.
I am interested in Penny Hardaway because it's obviously a case by case basis. Like with Steve Nash, I was like, huh, that's interesting. Like I didn't think he was going to be bad or anything. Like he has a great mind for the game. When I hear him talk about the game, clearly he knows what he's talking about. He knows way more basketball than us two dopes on a podcast. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
I was like, okay, maybe Steve Nash will be a good coach because obviously the players respect him, so he has the management side of the coaching down, but he just might be a really good X's and O's guy. And he's also and the moment I could tell he was going to be good at his job is that he's not walking into the job being like, okay, this is my first job. I'm going to do things my way and see if it works. Like, no, he took on Mike D'Antoni. Like he has like a really deep staff that helps him out. And I think that is very progressive in a way for a coach. And I'm all about progression with evolution as the league goes on. Like, yeah, Luka and Jason Kidd might see eye to eye in terms of like what they would see out there on the court and stuff. But what about the other guys? What about the other guys' development?
It's not just about your star.
Like, it's not just your star, right? And unfortunately, that's the balancing act. You have to accommodate your star player too. Who had some beef with Rick Carlisle and stuff. And by the way, I just want to thank Bob Voulgaris again for Seth Curry. In exchange for Josh Richardson. You guys have fun trying to extend him because you don't want to lose out on the asset.
Man. So all right. Well
that leads we got to talk about the Dame stuff.
Yeah, okay. So let's talk about the Dame stuff. What do you think?
What do I think? Well, you know where my mind goes first. Like, how can the Sixers get this guy?
Yes.
Because it becomes a little bit different. Like, yeah, Simmons' trade value took a tank in the sense that there's not the allure, or the allure of him unlocking his superstar potential is no longer that strong, right? But I still think there's value there. So it was like, okay, maybe we could package a trade together for CJ McCollum or whatever and stuff. The calculus becomes a little bit different when you hear inklings that Dame Lillard has a growing rift with ownership. And by the way, to the people, because I saw a few people that I follow, try to basically say, unless Dame says it himself, I'm not believing it. First of all, no player is ever going to fucking do that. Ever. Yeah. Like, history has shown that no player is ever going to do that ever.
The only one that did was Jimmy Butler, and he got fined for it.
Yeah.
Technically not allowed to do that. So.
Or Anthony Davis, too.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis.
They also got fined for that. So,
So it's like.
To do that.
Yeah. And also, the person who reported this, Chris Haynes, is literally tight with Damian Lillard. So I don't think Chris Haynes is just going to throw shit at the wall. Chris Haynes is just a good reporter, period. But I don't think Chris Haynes is just going to throw shit at the wall about Damian Lillard without talking to people at least close to his camp. Because this dude and Dame, they know each other. They're good friends. Like, it's clear that the wheels are set in motion. Because think about it, Chris. Of all the superstars that have moved over the last 5 years, the process is pretty similar, isn't it? It starts with you hear inklings that a player wants to leave. And then it's like, no, we're trying to keep him. We're pretty confident we'll keep him heading into the offseason. And then you start hearing more reports, and then players start finding ways to look for excuses to justify wanting to push themselves out. It is the same stuff we are seeing. The only exception is Giannis. But we all kind of knew that based on Giannis's mental makeup and all that, he has the mental makeup kind of an old school player in terms of like loyalty and stuff like that, with a little mix of new school, obviously. But like, a lot of people had already said, like, if there was one superstar to stick with their team and take the Supermax extension before heading into free agency that following summer, it would be Giannis. And guess what? That happened. All the other times, it has ended up with the superstar in some way or form leaving, whether it's trade, whether it's free agency, whether it's free agency through sign and trade. Like, the wheels are turning on this. Like, the toothpaste is kind of coming out of the tube already.
Yeah, the toothpaste coming out of the tube.
As a Zach Lowe-ism. Shout out Zach Lowe. But I think it's pretty clear that they're heading this direction.
Yeah.
Like, and, you know, obviously there are a few teams that should be in contention, or every team should be calling for Dame Lillard. But I assume with Dame Lillard's 31, or he's going to be 31 next month. So I would have to think his priorities are at this point, okay, I have 4 years left on my huge contract extension. I want to win. We have been stalling out. CJ McCollum disappeared in these past playoffs. Or struggled, I should say. Where can I go to win? So I don't think the Knicks are in contention. Sorry, Knicks fans. The teams I could think of, you know, Boston and Philly. And, you know, there's probably a few other teams in there. Golden State too. Yeah, Golden State will always be looming.
Golden State to me is a thing where...
Oh, God, that would be ridiculous.
You get to go home. They have all the assets you would need to trade for him. There's
to start a rebuild, yep.
Yeah, like, you know, you trade Wiseman, Wiggins, and both picks, easy. That's done.
Yeah.
You know, I think the thing about them is like, dude, how do you stop them? Holy shit.
Yeah.
The thing with me, I think there's a lot of talk going on about what Dame's move would be here. And I think there is a lot of truth to this when you say, okay, he has 3 years left on his deal. There's a lot of time. I think he's a guy that wants to stay in Portland. I think that's important to him. And I think that he's close enough with Chauncey that he'll want to stay, at least give him a chance.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that like that's worth exploring at least for a year to Dame. Like I could see him staying for a year, saying, okay, let's give it a shot. And then next year, if it doesn't work out, I want out of here, because then that's the same kind of timeline that Harden used with his contract.
Yeah,
their contracts would be almost identical from when Harden asked for a trade, so it's a little bit easier leverage there.
Yeah,
and some precedent is set to make that easier of a trade.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I don't see this lasting long term here, and I think if he does move, I agree with you that he wants to go to contender. The only teams that make sense, obviously, are Golden State. I think Boston might be.
If Boston is willing to give up Jaylen Brown, which a lot of Celtics fans are clutching their pearls for. And you know what? Jaylen Brown's a good player, but he's
not Dame.
He's Dame. Like,
yeah.
I get the sports sentimentalism here. Wanting to root for two young wing players for the next decade and stuff. Yeah. But I would think you would want Damian Lillard, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing, like,
I think Philly too, by the way. Yeah, not just because I'm a Sixer fan.
No, but. I think Philly. I think that obviously I'm biased, but you can't count out the Lakers to make some kind of crazy magic happen.
Yeah, I know Lakers Twitter had those Photoshop jerseys fired up.
They're ready. To go. But you know, again, like you just can't count them out. And
no.
And you know the way that Polanca's really done a great job. I don't think he gets enough credit for what he's done so far with the Lakers and turn them around. Think about what their roster looked like a year before he took over, and how quickly he turned that around. Just getting rid of contracts and getting rid of bad contracts and deals and all kinds of stuff. But that's besides the point. So that gets to the next point. Team USA, where super teams are built.
Yeah, where the recruiting happens.
So we have a very interesting mix and roster here. I don't know if you've seen the full list here.
Yeah, I saw the full. I'm gonna.
So for anyone that doesn't, so for anyone that hasn't, I'm gonna read it off real quick. We have Bam Adebayo, we have Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Jeremy Grant, Draymond Green, Drew Holiday, Zach LaVine, Damian Lillard, Kevin Love, Chris Middleton, and Jason Tatum.
I have a question. Did you read that list off Mark Stein's tweet?
I did not.
Oh, okay. Because I have Mark Stein's tweet up right now, and that's the order. That's the exact order you read them in.
I'm reading it off the Team USA website. That's enough.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, the the interesting thing here, I think, with this roster, I like it. I think it's a perfect international roster given how it's played now. The criticism I've always had with international rosters or Team USA rosters is the lack of size. But I mean, when you have
that doesn't matter with Team USA.
It doesn't matter internationally. I think the only time it would have mattered, and the only time it really did matter, was when we played Spain in their prime. But the Gasol brothers are old at this point. It doesn't matter.
You're talking about the 2008 gold medal game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When, the lack of size, where our only two bigs were Dwight and
Chris Bosh.
Chris Bosh. Oh, and Tyson Chandler's on the team too.
No, that was was it? No, was he on the 2008 team? I'm pretty sure that was 2012.
Oh, he might have been on 2012.
I'm pretty sure that was the 2012 team.
That was Anthony Davis here too. Anyway, but yeah, I think as much shit as they're gonna get for Kevin Love being on the roster, he is the perfect international big. He is the perfect floor spacer for international play.
I thought Julius Randle should have made it over him, but I guess I get the Kevin Love. Kevin Love just hasn't played basketball in 2 years.
No, I don't see him playing a ton of minutes, but as someone that has been a part of Team USA before and has a lot of international experience, I think he's fine. And again, as a spot up big, as a stretch big, I think he's fine.
Yeah, we know what this is. He's gonna. How could Kevin Love not see Blake Griffin, Nick Batum, PJ Tucker, and whoever other 32-year-old vets are in the playoffs right now and think, I still got it. Like, I've just been in purgatory in Cleveland for 2 years, throwing temper tantrums on the court whenever Sexton or Garland fuck up. But I still have a lot left in the tank because he does provide. He still has his rebounding. He's still a good passer, and he could shoot, which are definitely valuable skills. So I think this is I'm going to rehab my image and hope to get traded out of Cleveland soon type of thing. Because this contract is kind of
an albatross.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be nice about it and say egregious, but yeah, it's kind of an albatross of a contract. But Kevin Love could have value to a team, especially because everybody thought Blake was washed, but really he just, yeeted everybody, finessed everybody. And but yeah, oh my god, he makes $31 million next year, and then he makes $28.9 million in the 2022-23 season before he becomes an unrestricted free agent. So I think he's trying to rehabilitate his trade value there.
Sure, and as he should. I think this is a good opportunity for him to do that. But yeah, I like this team. I think there is a little bit of a concern with just we got a lot of one-on-one guys here.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think our strength as Team USA has always been that we have strong one-on-one guys that play together.
I could see some like how Miami and Philly and a few other teams, like the dribble handoff has become such a staple in today's NBA. They have the bigs and the passing bigs for sure to connect everything together. I feel. With Bam, with Draymond, with Kevin Love. So, yeah, the guards are definitely I wouldn't say lacking in the playmaking department. They just don't have a table setter, Yeah. And I think that's where the bigs come in.
Yeah. So, again, it's an interesting mix. I think, I think this is going to be a concern of just getting them to – they're not going to have a lot of time to practice.
Oh yeah, no, it's going to start right after the playoffs.
So yeah, that's a little bit of concern to me.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I think this is a great roster. I'm excited to see them play.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous that the talent is this deep because there's no LeBron, there's no Steph, there's no Harden. There's kind of just there's still top end talent that's missing from this list. But then I look at this team and I'm like, this is a pretty good squad. We could win the gold medal still. There's a high probability we'll win the gold medal still.
Yeah, I was looking at the other rosters, the other international rosters, and there's really no other threat here. I don't see any other threat internationally. Spain's getting a little long in the tooth, and all of their big guys are kind of old at this point. And then, we have Australia, who has a lot of holes.
And Ben Simmons just said he wasn't playing in the Olympics either.
Yeah.
So
I think this should be a pretty slam dunk easy victory. But again, you never know what's going to happen. A similar roster had lost earlier with a lot of young guys. We lost in the at the World Championships, or the championships or whatever. So who knows? But I think this should be pretty easy. Those championship teams didn't have Kevin Durant, so I think that's
that's the other thing too. Kevin Durant's arguably the best player in the world right now.
Well, Kevin Durant is also the perfect international zone buster.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like when you talk about how the international game is all based around a zone and how you need shooters with length and size. Like
Kevin Durant in general is just a game buster.
Yeah, but when you talk about international play and what that means, Kevin Durant is the guy.
Yeah.
That's
but I won't let you besmirch Olympic Melo though.
Olympic Melo. I was just gonna bring this up. So I always said this, and you'll agree with me too. If Carmelo Anthony was Olympic Carmelo through his whole career, I think he has a better career.
There'd be spots where he'd be more effective, but Melo was a top 5 to 7 player for a long time.
Oh, I definitely think. Yeah. I'm this isn't a dig on Melo at all.
I know.
This is my thing of bro, when you have a non-ISO-centric Carmelo, someone that's playing off ball, going off screens, and playing. I thought a lot of Carmelo's strengths were off ball, and the way how fast he gets his shot off and how efficient he is as a off ball scorer, I thought was more important than his isolation scoring.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to me, if he had that more often, if he had more guys to set the table and help him out more in his, he would have had.
I remember when the Nuggets traded. Speaking to Chauncey Billups, I remember when the Nuggets traded for Chauncey Billups, and I was like, "This team's going to the Western Conference Finals."
Yeah,
immediate. I think it happened.
And then traded for Allen Iverson.
Yeah, because I was obviously I watched Nuggets games especially more after Iverson got traded there, but it was pretty clear that the Nuggets didn't have, as much as I love Iverson and that scoring duo was ridiculous, they just didn't have a defensive-minded table-setting point guard like Chauncey. It was my junior year of high school, and when the trade happened, I was just like, oh shit, with Nene, with Kenyon Martin, with Melo, young J.R. Smith, Chauncey Billups, I think Anthony Carter was still coming off the bench. I really loved that Nuggets team. That 2009 Nuggets team.
It was one of my favorite teams.
It was a really good, Melo just never had that. He never had that type of point guard for most of his career. And you're probably right. He probably would have had a greater career than we think of him now. Because I think no doubt, I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he's one of the best scorers ever. But if he had some better fitting players, I think you're right. He would have probably had a more efficient and better career than what we remember. I just think the last 5 years of Melo have been so weird for his career that I think a lot of people forget just how good he was. Somebody was talking about it the other day on Twitter, but that Melo Nuggets jersey with the light teal and the yellow stripes around the jersey, that's a classic. Yeah. For some reason that became a classic NBA jersey. I saw a lot of people in Bakersfield rocking that Denver Nuggets Melo jersey. The dude is a legend, but he didn't have a Chauncey Billups type player for the entirety of his career to kind of play by his side.
Yeah, and again, when you go back and you watch old Melo highlights, it's a lot of ISO. Yeah. And then when you watch him play off ball, like what he's doing now with Portland, you watch him and you go, oh shit, he's still really strong. He's still really good at this. And you're like, dude, he could do this his whole career. He could have been this his whole career.
Yeah, he really didn't start shooting threes also, or become a good 3-point shooter until that 2009 season.
Yeah.
I remember early in his career where it was mainly he was operating at the elbow and stuff like that. And, we saw the potential for the jump shot from 3-point range, but he was a 20% 3-point shooter for the first, I think 4 years of his career. And then it just took off after that. He became a good 37% 3-point shooter. That's pretty good. But yeah, I think you're right. He would have, if certain players and that's always not the rub with these kind of players, but like those type of players, you do kind of have to fit the roster in a particular way, but it can be done, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I think it does come down to a respect thing too. Like, obviously with Team USA, he has LeBron, he has Kobe, he had his kid and all this stuff. Like, there's a level of respect of like, oh, I understand my role here is to shoot the ball and score, anything else, right? And like it shrinks what you need to worry about, right, on the floor.
Yep.
And like, I just think when he's in his bag scoring, when all he needs to worry about is getting into position to shoot, I think he's so good.
Yeah,
when he's playing great for himself and do all this stuff and trying to open up space on the floor, like then I think he, not that he's not good at it, but I think that it kind of undermines what his true talents are.
Yeah, yeah. But
and again, this is nothing against Melo, because I think Melo's super talented. It's just a thing of like,
I get what you're saying. Yeah, That's why when they made that trade, I was just like, oh shit, like Melo's about to feast because he doesn't have to bring the ball up all the time and stuff.
For a little while too.
Yeah, they made it to the dude. They could have. I wouldn't say they would have won the Western Conference Finals, but Game 1 specifically and Game 4, where Melo messed up the inbounds passes, like identical plays in both of those games, like towards the end, where Lamar Odom messed up the inbound passes. Like, that series was a lot closer than people give it credit for. I think the Nuggets could have the Lakers were still the bigger team, but the Nuggets had the size to match Gasol and Bynum and Odom, like also, at least make them work.
Kobe was on his shit that playoffs, though, to be fair.
Yeah, he was. But the Nuggets had a chance in that series. Like, that team was good.
Yeah. Fully, completely agree with you here. So, all right, we're running a little long. I do want to get some draft stuff in before. So we do have our draft order set here.
Yep.
So first 5 picks, I guess we'll look at real quick before we.
Can't wait for the Pistons to take Jalen Green, number 1 overall.
Yeah. So I had a lot of Laker fans that were asking if Cade Cunningham available at pick 22. So we have to see where he lands there. So yeah, our first 5 picks are obviously Detroit, Houston, Cleveland, Toronto, and Orlando. I think the interesting thing here is if Evan Mobley falls to Cleveland, I think that's a perfect fit.
Yeah. I talked to Evan Dammarell of Forbes Sports. He covers the Cavaliers, and he was I asked him who would he prefer, and he was telling me that Jalen Green would be in consideration, but he would like he would like Evan Mobley personally on the Cavs, and I think that makes all the sense in the world.
It's the perfect fit. It's the hole that they need to fill.
Yeah, and the fit with Jared, like the Mobley Jared Allen fit, like I get it, but there's also just part of me that's like, fit does matter, but if you're a bad team, fit really shouldn't matter. But maybe fit should matter in the larger context of how you want to build your team. So it's like a philosophical thing. Do the Cavs?
Sorry, I mean, they're not going to take fucking Jalen Suggs. Like, they have 2 guards. They just used 2 lottery picks to take 2 guards.
But they might trade the trade rumors about Colin Sexton are ramping up, and a lot of teams will line up for a 22-year-old who improves every year. With this contract extension coming up too, that would kind of make him a candidate to be moved if the Cavs wanted to go with Jalen Green. Because I love Colin Sexton. I think he's better than what I thought he would be. I actually have turned into a fan of Colin Sexton, but I would keep Darius Garland if I had to choose between the two.
I still like Garland more. I've never been a Sexton person, but I think he's better than I expected, but I'm still not a huge fan. I still think Garland's a better fit. I
would love to see Evan Mobley on the Rockets and seeing what the Rockets can get for Christian Wood. Because I don't know, I just like the combo of KPJ.
I kind of like the fit of Wood and Mobley.
It's too thin. It's too thin though. Like
it is
on the defensive end, especially. Yeah, that's where the appeal comes in.
them running the floor together would be so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
Again, this is me as a fan speaking. Not this is me as a not Rockets fan, just wanting to watch Houston games and watch them run the floor.
Yeah. It would definitely, the offensive versatility would be fun. But I was just thinking like Evan Mobley with Kevin Porter Jr., like who showed a lot of chops obviously he got the opportunity to, because I thought he showed flashes as a rookie.
Anyone else, I'm a fan.
What's up?
As long as he's not spitting on anyone else, I'm a fan. Seriously, he's talented.
Yeah, he is. He showed legit flashes with the Cavaliers before he had legal trouble and stuff like that. And they had to ship him out. But it's really serendipitous for the Rockets too that they got to keep their pick, because it would have been a disaster. Like the Timberwolves not keeping their pick was a disaster. Yeah. But I don't know. The first three number one just seems set in stone, and I think the Pistons are going to be my Charlotte Hornets next year, because I think we
talked 2 weeks ago about how much we love Detroit's young core.
Yeah,
so this makes them even better.
Yeah, I thought Isaiah Stewart showed more offensive evolution towards the end of the season. Saddiq Bey is really good already. The plug and play guy we all thought he would be coming out of Villanova. Killian Hayes was hurt a lot, but he also was kind of bad when he played. But I'm willing to give him a pass because he's also fucking 19 years old.
And I think Cade helps him a ton.
Yeah, Cade is going to help out Killian a lot, because I do think there is an element of Killian where he's kind of, I know eventually he'll be able to play at his own pace, like, the whole, a Dollar Tree version of Luka Doncic, where he kind of meanders his way to where he wants to go on the floor and stuff, because he is kind of slow. He doesn't have that elite burst, but this is where Cade would help, because I think Cade he could fill a lot of holes offensively. He's a good passer. He's a big wing. He can kind of get to his spot too. Even if he isn't the fastest in the world, he's still big. He can get a shot off. And he's also a smart off-ball defender on the other end. I just really like the pairing of a Cade and Killian Hayes backcourt, or the theoretical potential behind it. And then you have Jeremy Grant, who, showed a lot more scoring chops than I thought he ever would, even on a bad team. And yeah, you have Saddiq Bey and Isaiah Stewart. Like, that's a good core you find yourself with in a matter of 2 seasons.
We still have Demboya, who we have no idea what he is yet.
We have no idea. Yeah, we have no idea who Demboya is yet. But there's some tantalizing talent there for sure. But yeah, it's going. I'm really gonna like this Pistons. I'm gonna really like watching this Pistons team next year, especially. Well, at least watching the players. But I think the Rockets should definitely go with Evan Mobley here. I still need to watch tape on the other prospects. But the Raptors, dude, they lucked out getting the top 4 pick, because I don't think, getting one of Suggs or Jalen Green is a bad consolation prize.
No,
by
I think they're going to get Suggs.
Stretch.
I think they'll get Suggs.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like. If I'm the Warriors, I would also be trying to trade picks to it's either you trade Steph, or you trade these picks and try to find somebody to build a contender with Steph, because Steph is still an MVP player, and I don't think young lottery picks are going to help the Warriors, especially with their draft history. And I know it's the later rounds with their draft history where they've missed a lot of players, but do you really think a young player is going to cut, unless it's like LaMelo Ball, who they should have probably taken last year?
Yeah.
I don't see any way. I don't see how you could have the thought process after watching what Steph did this year, where he was damn near the 2015-16 version of Steph, and be like, let's add 2 young, inexperienced players to the roster who will probably get as many inconsistent minutes as James Wiseman, Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what you would do, but I would be looking to trade some of these picks. Maybe you could swing a Bradley Beal deal.
Yeah, I'm expecting Golden State to trade these picks. Although,
there was that Athletic report that that the wide expectation is they could package Wiseman and 7 and 14 for a Pascal Siakam.
Yeah, that one's been going around all day today. I like it.
I like it too.
I don't know if it solves all their problems, but I like it.
Well, he's shown he could be the third best player on a championship team. So,
Yeah. Again, it all goes back to my thing of like, does getting Clay back like solve all your problems? Obviously, the answer is no. So then, what holes can you fill, or what can you do to help fill these like your other holes and your other problems? And I don't know if Pascal does all that. I think he helps.
I think the Warriors could definitely use a versatile athletic big. I don't think that could hurt, you know.
Yeah.
Because there was some obvious lack of pop whenever whenever Curry would go to the bench. It's clear that the Warriors just need some nitrous oxide somewhere else when it comes to not only lineups that you can play, but like, you know, trying to sustain runs or hold the fort while Steph is on the bench, you know. And I think Pascal would make some sense. I think that's like not the only option, but I'm sure there's some other creative ways the Warriors could add somebody. But Warriors got to do something, man, because you don't know how many years of this Steph you're going to get. Well, you're probably going to get this version of Steph for a while because he's the greatest shooter ever. But I don't think lottery picks are going to help out.
Yeah, they're not going to help out right now, especially like, again, this draft is deep, but it's not. I don't know if you can pick up things to win now from 7 to 14.
Yeah, how deep is the top end talent is the question with this draft.
So this gets back into the pick that everyone's talking about, both Jalen's, Mobley, and Cade.
Are you a Kuminga guy?
I am a Kuminga guy.
I figured you were going to go there.
I love Jonathan Kuminga. You know why, Jordan?
Because he's big and he can shoot, and he's a long boy.
He's a big, long, athletic boy.
Yep. I figured.
I'm a big Kuminga guy, and I'm liking Scotty Barnes, man. I like both of those guys.
I'm a little apprehensive with guys like Scotty Barnes because, you know, he can't shoot. And I'm scared of players who can't shoot. Obviously, you can understand my feelings.
No, I understand
on this. I mean, it's not like Scotty Barnes' shot is broken, right? Or even a Kuminga's. But if you can't you can have the elite tools and stuff, and that is all very valuable. But if you cannot hit an open shot in today's NBA, it gets tough.
You can't trust me, man. Because remember, I was a huge Michael Kidd-Gilchrist guy too.
Well, then that means you can't trust either of us because I loved Michael Kidd-Gilchrist myself coming out of Kentucky. I was like, I love the motor, I love the size, I love his willingness to play defense. Like he could play maybe some power forward, but damn, he cannot shoot.
No, so that's so funny. I also like Keon Johnson. Like I just like these long, like athletic wings.
Hey, you know my vice is long athletic wings myself. So that's why I was one of the, I wouldn't say one of the few people, but nobody watched the fucking 10-win Sixers when Robert Covington when Robert Covington was getting minutes on the team. But I was like, I don't know how good he'll be as a defender, but he's big, he has long arms, and he could shoot. Sign me up. And then he took an outlier leap as a defender, and I was like, yep, I am a Robert Covington guy. You know, I'm a sucker for wings myself, so I get it.
So yeah, I'm watching those three. Those are the three wings that I'm watching, just to see where they end up, because I think where they end up could be really interesting. Because to me, the long athletic wings are the guys that can make impacts early.
Yep.
Like more so than guards and bigs, because I think those take a little more time to integrate and get used to the NBA. Where like if you're long and athletic, like you instantly have a spot and instantly know where you fit in. You play defense and you drive to the basket, or you play off ball. Like, you know, it's so it's a lot easier of a transition, I feel like.
Yeah.
So yeah, like when you talk about those guys going to like contenders, if like one of those guys goes to the Warriors, I don't like. Obviously, I think that Wiggins is still going to be your starter unless they trade him. But I think that like it gives you it gives them a lot of depth, and it gives them something. It just gives them more bodies that they can throw out there that'll be useful in a playoff series, right?
I could actually. So I know Davion Mitchell is small, but he defends way bigger than what
he's a thick boy.
Yes, he is definitely bigger for compared relative to a 6 foot flat person. He weighs as much as I do actually, and I'm 6 feet flat. Although I am not, as you can tell, I'm not an elite athlete or anything.
You're not a big boy.
Yeah, but I think Davion Mitchell would be maybe one pick that makes sense for the Warriors. Just somebody who is, ready, played a lot more years in college and is grown into his body more, but somebody who's a backup ball handler with on-ball and off-ball defense. I became a fan of Davion Mitchell, obviously, as the tournament went along. I just think there's very few players in this lottery range that would help out the Warriors. And that's the team that I'm most looking forward to watching.
Yeah.
And the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah, to me, the Warriors are the ones going to set the tone for this entire season. Like, what they could either make a huge splash or they could punt another year.
Yeah. Well,
so we'll see.
With Steph, I don't think punting another year is an option, especially because he's 33 now.
If they think he's going to leave, then they'll just punt the year.
Yeah. Hey, Maury, pick up the phone.
Oh, man, he's gonna sign with the Lakers for the minimum.
For the mid. It's like we could maybe do the mid-level exception, but we're offering you the minimum.
Hey man, I've seen guys do crazier shit.
If Steph Curry took a minimum contract at any point in his career, I think I would pass out from sheer shock. The minute Woj will hit send on a tweet, Lakers agree to a contract with Steph Curry. It's a veteran's minimum. I think I would pass out.
Dude, the NBA would shit itself. It'd be over. It'd be worse than that time DeMarcus Cousins signed for the minimum.
Oh my God. Everybody freaked out about that signing, including I didn't freak out about it, but I was like, oh, damn. Like, they got DeMarcus Cousins. Even, torn ACL, Achilles, DeMarcus Cousins is coming off the bench is still, for the Warriors, that's overkill. But, obviously injuries and all that stuff piled up, and we all know what happened there. But that would be absurd. Every 2K player's dream, pair LeBron and Steph together and see what happens.
With Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis should be a third option there.
That actually might benefit Anthony Davis.
Dude, could you imagine how easy his life would be? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he wouldn't be asked to be aggressive every game by fans like we all want him to be and stuff. He could just focus on defense, catching lobs.
I'm rock hard. We need to stop.
We definitely need to end the podcast then.
But yeah, I'm excited. I think that is it weird that I'm more excited for this offseason than I am for the NBA Finals?
When the Sixers season ended, I was like, okay, I'm looking forward to this offseason because I want to see what Morey does. But I still want to see this finals. I want to see Chris Paul get his ring because I think he deserves it at this point. I think he's one of the best players of all time. I know, hot take, surprise. And I just think that ring will just solidify his legacy's already solidified, but just having a ring to put a cherry on top of a great Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Fame career is I would really like that for Chris. And I am a pseudo Suns fan in a lot of ways. So I am looking forward still to the finals because I do think the Bucks and Suns, it would provide our what feels like our first healthy playoff matchup where both teams are healthy, So
Jinx it.
Yeah, I know. Damn. I take it back. If I could somehow talk in reverse and take it back, I would. But yeah, I'm still looking forward to the finals before I look ahead to the off season. But I get your intrigue.
Yeah, I think for me it's just a thing of I know how these two I'll probably feel differently once we get to the finals, but I think the conference finals right now are just so everything's going kind of to script of how I thought it was going to go. and it's just like, okay, like let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see. And like all the off-season stuff starting to hit, and like
The basketball itself is still good.
Yeah, but I'm just like I'm starting to hit. It's like again, my favorite person is, or like my favorite thing about the NBA is like team building and draft and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so like it's like tickling all my buttons when we start to get the draft lottery and like all the prospects.
Yeah, it's weird. I've turned into a team building draft guy myself, obviously, when the Sixers, started going through tanking or the process and stuff like that. Like I have turned into a team building draft guy myself, although I am very hit and miss on what I think whenever teams complete their drafts and stuff. That part is definitely interesting because it is in some ways it's kind of like not 2K, but there's elements of like the GM simulator type thing. Like, okay, how would I add to this team and all that stuff? So I get it.
But we'll see. It's exciting. Either way, we should have a really good time. And,
damn, season's almost over.
Right? Crazy.
This feels like just one long 2020, honestly.
We will. This podcast won't end though. We'll have NBA. We'll have Olympic basketball to talk about, and then we'll have a ton of off-season stuff. So.
Oh yeah, we'll be here.
We'll be here. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.
The B.O.B.